Danny was just 25 years old. Life had been hard for him. He lost his job, his girlfriend left him, and he had no family left. So he moved to a small, quiet town far from the busy city. He wanted to start over. He found a small apartment and a job at a local bookstore. The town was peaceful. People were kind but quiet. Everyone seemed to know each other, but they didn't talk much about their pasts. Danny liked it that way, until the night everything changed. It was raining hard, the streets were empty, and the wind was cold. Danny was walking home after closing the bookstore. As he turned a corner near the old train station, he saw her. She stood under a broken streetlight wearing a long black coat. Her hair was dark and wet from the rain. Her eyes were sharp and deep, like she was hiding something. She looked older than Danny, maybe in her mid-30s, but she was beautiful, strong, and calm. She didn't speak. She just stared at him. Danny stopped walking. For a few seconds, they only looked at each other. Then she slowly turned and walked away. But something fell from her hand. A small folded note. Danny picked it up and opened it. The note had only one line. "Don't fall for me. I'm not safe." Danny's heart beat faster. Who was this woman? What did she mean? Why warn him? The next morning, Danny asked some people at the bookstore about her. One older man said, "You saw her? That woman? Stay away from her, boy. People who get close to her disappear." Danny didn't believe in ghost stories, but still, something about her felt strange. He wanted to see her again. 3 days later, it happened. Danny was at the bookstore again. It was quiet, almost closing time. The bell above the door rang. When he looked up, his heart jumped. It was her. She walked slowly inside, her eyes calm but searching. Danny tried to act normal, but his hands shook. She picked up a book, looked at it, and placed it. "Down!" Then she looked straight at him. Danny walked over. "Hi. I think you dropped this the other night." He held out the note. She didn't take it. Instead, she said, "You should have walked away when you had the chance." Her voice was soft but serious. "I want to know more," Danny said. "Why did you warn me? What aren't you telling me?" She stared at him for a long moment. Then very slowly she said, "My name is Eliza, and you have only one choice now. Walk away, or face what I really am." Before Danny could speak, she turned around and left the shop. Danny stood frozen. What did she mean by that? What was she hiding? Was she in danger, or was she the danger? He looked down at the note again. The words were simple, but they felt heavy. "Don't fall for me. I'm not safe." But it was too late. He was already curious, too curious to stop now. That night, Danny sat alone in his room, thinking about her. He remembered her eyes, her calm voice, her strange warning. He didn't believe in curses or magic, but Eliza didn't feel normal. She felt different. He made up his mind. The next day, he would find her. He didn't care about the warnings. He didn't care if people said she was dangerous. He needed to know her secret. The next morning, Danny woke up early. He didn't sleep much. His mind kept thinking about Eliza. Her eyes, her voice, and her strange warning wouldn't leave his thoughts. He walked around town asking people if they knew her. Most people didn't want to talk. Some gave short answers. One woman at the bakery said, "Yes, that's Eliza. She lives near the forest, close to the old path. But don't go there, young man. That woman is trouble." Danny thanked her and left. He didn't care about the warnings. He needed answers. He followed the path toward the forest. After walking for 20 minutes, he saw a small house hidden behind tall trees. It was quiet and still. He knocked on the door. No answer. He knocked. Again, suddenly the door opened. Eliza stood there, dressed in a simple gray sweater. Her eyes looked tired, but she was calm. "You didn't walk away?" she said. No, Danny replied. I want to understand. I'm not scared. Eliza looked at him for a long time. Then she stepped aside. Come in, she said. Danny entered the house. It was neat and warm, but there was something strange. The walls had old paintings, all with dark colors. A small table held candles that were half burned. There were no family photos, no signs of laughter or joy. They sat across from each other. Eliza poured tea and handed him a cup. You want to know who I am? She asked softly. Yes, Danny said. I want to know everything. She stared into her cup for a moment, then looked at him. My name is Eliza. I've lived in this town for 12 years. I don't have friends. I don't let people get close to me. Why? Danny asked. Because everyone who gets close ends up hurt, she said. Sometimes they get sick. Sometimes they vanish. But always, something bad happens. Danny frowned. You mean, you hurt them? No, she said quickly. I don't. But something does. Danny didn't understand. Like a curse? Eliza didn't answer. She stood up and walked to a small shelf. She picked up an old book and gave it to him. This is a journal, she said. It belonged to someone I once loved. He was like you, kind, curious, and full of life. But after he met me, things started going wrong. Danny opened the journal. It was filled with handwritten notes. The last page said, I see shadows at night. I feel like I'm being watched. I love her, but I fear her. Danny looked up. What happened to him? He disappeared, Eliza said. Like the others. Danny felt a chill. How many? Eliza whispered. 5. He put the book down. And now you think I'll be next? I don't want you to be, she said. That's why I told you to walk away. But I didn't, Danny said. Because I think there's more to your story. Just then, Eliza's phone rang. She looked at the screen and her face changed. Fear appeared in her eyes. I have to go, she said quickly. Please don't follow me. She grabbed her coat and rushed out. But Danny didn't listen. He followed her quietly, staying far behind. She walked fast through the trees, past the edge of town, and toward an old house that looked empty and broken. Eliza opened the door and went inside. Danny waited a minute, then walked closer. The house looked abandoned. The windows were dirty. The door was half open. Then he heard it. A scream, a loud, sharp scream from inside the house. Danny froze. His heart raced. He looked at the door, unsure what to do. Should he run? Should he go inside? Was she in danger? Or was she the danger? He took one step closer, then another, and then the door creaked wider on its own. Danny stood outside the broken house. The door was open now. The scream still echoed in his ears. It sounded like Eliza, but the house looked empty and dark. The wind blew cold and the trees around the house shook. Still, Danny took a deep breath and stepped inside. The floor creaked under his shoes. Dust floated in the air. The hallway was narrow and full of cobwebs. He looked around, calling softly. Eliza, are you here? No answer. He walked deeper inside. The house smelled old, like something had been hidden here for years. The walls were covered in peeling wallpaper. The lights didn't work. Danny moved slowly, checking each room. They were all empty, just broken furniture, torn curtains, and silence. Then he found a door at the end of the hall. It was locked with an old, rusty padlock. But beside it, on the floor, was a strange mark, a circle with symbols around it, drawn in white chalk. Danny didn't know what it meant, but it gave him a bad feeling. He looked around and found a heavy stick. With a hard hit, the lock broke open. The door creaked loudly as he pushed it. Behind the door was a narrow staircase going down into darkness. He turned on his phone flashlight and stepped down. The air grew colder, The walls were made of stone. At the bottom, there was a small basement room, and what he saw made his heart stop. There were candles on the floor, burnt down to wax puddles. The walls were full of strange writing in a language Danny didn't understand. In the corner, there was a table. On it were letters, photos, and small boxes. He picked up one letter. It was from a man named Peter. "Eliza, I love you, but something is wrong. I hear whispers. I see shadows. I think the house watches me. I'm scared. I must leave." Another letter said, "Eliza, please forgive me. I didn't believe you at first, but now I do. I saw what hides in your eyes." Danny's hands shook. He picked up a photo. It showed Eliza and a man smiling together. On the back was written, 2009, James and Eliza, before everything changed. Danny realized something terrible. These letters were from the men she talked about, the ones who disappeared. He opened one of the boxes. Inside was a silver necklace, a watch, and a ring. All items from different men. Each one was gone now. Suddenly, he heard footsteps upstairs. He turned off his light and stayed still. The door creaked. Someone was coming down the stairs. Danny held his breath, heart pounding. The shadow grew larger as the person stepped closer. Then he saw her. It was Eliza. She walked into the room, calm but cold. "You followed me," she said. I heard you scream," Danny replied. "I thought you were in danger." She shook her head slowly. "I told you not to follow. This place, it's not for you." Danny held up the letters. "I found these. The men who loved you. They all felt something. They were scared. What is this place, Eliza? What is your secret?" Eliza looked at the letters and closed her eyes. "I didn't want you to see this. Then why bring me into your life at all?" Danny asked. "I didn't," she said. "You came on your own, and now you're in the middle of something I can't stop." She walked over to the wall and touched one of the symbols. "This was meant to protect me, but it only makes things worse." "Protect you from what?" Danny asked. She looked at him, her voice shaking now. "From the thing that follows me. It doesn't let—" Danny stood frozen in the basement. The candle flames danced wildly, though there was no wind. Behind Eliza, a shadow moved along the wall, slowly stretching, even though no one stood there. Danny's mouth went dry. His heart pounded like a drum. "Eliza," he whispered, pointing. She didn't turn. She closed her eyes and said in a low voice, "I know. It's always there. It follows me." The shadow slipped back into the dark like smoke disappearing. Danny stepped back. What is that thing?" Eliza finally turned to face him. Her voice was calm but heavy. "It's part of the curse. It doesn't have a name. It's like a shadow that feeds on love, on emotions. It only wakes when someone starts to care for me." Danny shook his head. "How is that possible? None of this makes sense." Eliza sat down on a wooden chair. "I didn't believe it at first, either. I thought it was in my mind, but every man who loved me suffered, and when they tried to leave, the shadow took them." Danny looked around the basement again. The letters, the photos, the old symbols on the wall, everything pointed to one horrible truth. She wasn't lying, at least not completely. "I still don't understand," Danny said. "How did this all begin?" Eliza looked at the floor. 12 years ago, someone I loved was dying. I was young, scared, and desperate. I found an old book in my grandmother's attic. It was filled with strange spells and promises." Danny's eyes narrowed. "Spells?" "Yes," Eliza said. "One of the pages said I could save someone from death, but I had to give something in return. I didn't think it was real. I was just trying to help." "And it worked?" Danny asked. She nodded. "He lived, but the curse started. The shadow came. It attached to me. Now it watches. It waits. Danny stepped closer. Why didn't you leave this town? Maybe run from it? I tried, she said. But the curse follows me wherever I go. I've stayed here because it's quiet. Less chance of meeting someone, less chance of hurting them. Danny sat down across from her. His voice was soft. But you let me in. You talked to me. You let me follow you. Tears formed in Eliza's eyes. Because I was tired of being alone. You were different. You were kind. I told you to walk away, but you didn't. I can't, Danny said. Even now, I don't want to leave. You should, Eliza said quickly. Please, Danny, I'm begging you. Go back to your life. Forget you ever met me. Danny looked at her carefully. Are you telling me the full truth? Or just part of it? Eliza didn't answer right away. She stood up, walked to a shelf, and opened a small box. Inside was an old necklace. She handed it to Danny. This belonged to my first love, she said. He gave it to me the night before he vanished. That night I saw the shadow clearly for the first time. It came out of the mirror and touched him. After that, he was gone. Danny held the necklace. It was cold and felt heavy in his hand. Eliza, he said slowly, I believe you, but I don't believe this thing can't be stopped, she smiled sadly. Many have tried. They all failed. One even died trying. Danny leaned forward. Then let me try. Let me help you. Suddenly, Eliza screamed, No! The candles blew out. The room went dark, and in the silence a whisper echoed around them. A voice, cold and low. Another one falls in love. Danny stood quickly. What was that? Eliza was shaking. It knows. It heard you. You said you want to help me. That's enough. It thinks you love me now. Danny's heart pounded. But I don't. It doesn't care, Eliza said. Even care is enough. You're in danger now. Danny turned on his phone light. The walls were shaking. The old books fell from shelves. The air felt thick, like something heavy had entered the room. He grabbed Eliza's hand. We need to get out of here. They ran up the stairs and out into the cold night. The house behind them groaned like it was alive. Danny looked back. In the upstairs window, he saw the shadow again, tall, dark, and watching him. Back at Eliza's house, they sat in silence. Eliza spoke first. You still want to help me? Danny nodded. Yes, but I want the full truth. All of it. No more secrets. She looked into his eyes. Then you must know this. The curse can only be broken if someone makes a sacrifice. Oh, sacrifice? Danny asked. Yes, Eliza said. And it might be you. Danny sat on the floor of Eliza's quiet home. The lights were off and the only sound was the ticking clock on the wall. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, the silence was heavy. Eliza's last words kept echoing in his head. The curse can only be broken if someone makes a sacrifice. He looked at her, confused and afraid. What do you mean? What kind of sacrifice? Eliza didn't look up. She stared at her hands, voice soft. The shadow feeds on love. It grows stronger when someone cares for me. But there's one way to stop it. Someone has to offer their soul, freely. It's the only way to break the curse. Danny's face turned pale. You mean someone has to die? Eliza nodded slowly. Yes, not just die. They must give up everything. Memories, love, light. Everything that makes them human. Danny stood up and paced the room. And you were going to tell me this after it was too late? I warned you, Eliza said, from the very start. I begged you to walk away. But you knew I wouldn't, Danny said. You hoped someone would come along. Someone like me. Someone foolish enough to care. Eliza's eyes filled with tears. No, Danny. That's not true. I didn't want you to stay. I didn't plan any of this. But I was so tired of being alone. I just wanted someone to see. Mia's more than a curse. Danny turned away, breathing hard. Everything in him wanted to leave, to run far away. But another part of him, the part that saw the pain in Eliza's eyes, told him to stay. I don't want to die, he said quietly. But I don't want to watch you suffer either. Eliza stood and walked to him. That's why it's a curse. It punishes both love and kindness. The more you feel for me, the more danger you're in. Danny looked deep into her eyes. What happens if no one makes the sacrifice? The curse never ends, she replied. The shadow keeps following me, and anyone I grow close to is taken. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The air turned cold again. Danny looked around. It's here, isn't it? Eliza nodded. It's always near. It listens. It waits. A loud bang came from the hallway. Danny rushed to the door, but Eliza stopped him. Don't go out there. It wants you to be alone. That's how it gets stronger. Another bang. Then whispering sounds. Danny gritted his teeth. If I can't stop it by running, then I have to face it. Eliza held his hand tightly. If you go out there, it might take you. Danny nodded. Then let it try. He opened the door. The hallway was dark, but something moved at the end. A tall, black shape, like smoke with glowing eyes, stood silently. It didn't walk. It floated. Danny stepped forward. What do you want? The shadow didn't speak, but a voice entered Danny's mind. It was cold, deep, and cruel. You feel for her. You belong to me now, Danny shouted. I'm not afraid of you. The shadow laughed, a horrible, echoing sound. Eliza ran to the doorway. Danny, come back! But the shadow rushed toward him. Danny braced himself. The cold hit him like a wall. He felt weak, like his memories were being pulled from his head, his parents' faces, his childhood, his dreams. Stop! Eliza screamed. Take me instead! The shadow paused. Danny dropped to his knees. His head was spinning. His heart felt empty, like something inside him was being stolen. Eliza stepped in front of him. Please, he doesn't deserve this. Let him go. For a moment, everything went quiet. Then the shadow slowly backed away. It vanished into the walls, leaving only cold air behind. Danny gasped and looked up. Why did it stop? Eliza helped him up. Because it knows you're willing to give your soul, and that makes you powerful. Danny held her hands. Then maybe we can trick it. Maybe there's another way. She looked unsure. No one's ever survived this long. Danny smiled weakly. Then let's be the first. That night, they made a plan. They would go back to the house, back to the secret room, and they would try to finish what was started 12 years ago. The next night, the sky was dark and full of heavy clouds. Rain slowly began to fall. Danny and Eliza stood outside the old broken house again. This time they weren't afraid. They were ready. Danny held a bag with candles, chalk, and the old book Eliza found years ago. Eliza carried a box with her past. Letters, photos, and the necklace from her first love. Everything was important now. Everything had meaning. We go in, find the shadow, and speak the truth, Danny said. Eliza nodded. If we lie, even once, it will know. They entered the house. The wood creaked under their steps. The walls seemed to breathe. The air was colder than before. It was like the house already knew they were coming. They walked down the hallway, past the same broken doors. When they reached the back, Danny opened the basement door. The smell of dust and old pain rose up. Together, they went down the stairs. The secret room looked the same. Symbols on the walls, candle marks on the floor, and darkness that never felt empty. Danny set the candles in a circle and lit them one by one. Their soft glow made the shadows move on the walls. Eliza opened the old book. Her hands shook, but her voice was strong. This is where I made the deal. This is where I must end it. Danny looked at her. Are you ready? No, she said. But I must do it anyway. She began to read from the book. The words were not in English. They were old, sharp, and full of power. The flames on the candles flickered harder with each word. Suddenly, the room grew dark. The candles went out, and the shadow appeared. It rose from the ground like black smoke, tall, silent. Its eyes glowed red. Danny stepped in front of Eliza. We are not afraid of you. The shadow didn't move, but the voice came again inside their minds. You brought me gifts. You brought me truth, but it is not enough. Eliza stepped forward. You fed on my pain. You took those I loved. But I am done running. I am here to make a new deal. The shadow was still. Danny said loudly, Take me! Let her go! Eliza grabbed his arm. No, that's not how this works. The shadow's voice whispered, You offer a soul freely, brave, but there is still love. That makes it mine. Eliza took the box of letters and held it high. These are the ones you took. I give them back. Their memories, their love. You already stole them. Now take their pain and leave. The room shook. The box flew from her hands and burst open. Letters, photos, and jewelry floated in the air. They spun like a storm around the shadow. It screamed. The sound was sharp and loud, like 1,000 voices crying at once. Eliza shouted, I break the deal! I break the curse! The candles lit again, all at once. Light filled the room. The shadow, twisted, spinning in pain. It shrank smaller and smaller. Danny held Eliza tight. It's working! But then, the shadow rushed toward Eliza. Danny jumped in front of her. The shadow hit him. He fell to the floor. Eliza screamed, Danny! The shadow vanished. Everything went quiet. Eliza dropped beside him. His eyes were closed. He wasn't breathing. Tears ran down her face. No, not you too. She held him, whispering, Please come back. I need you. You broke the curse. You saved me. Then Danny's fingers twitched. He coughed. His eyes opened. Eliza, he whispered. She laughed and cried at the same time. You're alive! Danny sat up slowly. What happened? Eliza looked around. The room was quiet, warm. The shadow was gone. The air was no longer heavy. The curse had ended. You did it, she said. You broke it. Danny smiled weakly. Together? They walked out of the basement, up into the night. The rain had stopped. The clouds cleared. The stars shone above them. The house behind them stood silent for the first time. The sky was clear, and the morning sun rose slowly over the quiet town. For the first time in many years, the old house on the edge of the forest felt peaceful. No cold wind, no whispering voices, no shadow waiting in the dark. Eliza stood by the window in her small home. The light touched her face, soft and warm. She smiled, though her eyes still held tears. They were not tears of fear or sadness. They were tears of hope. Danny walked into the room, holding 2 mugs of coffee. He handed one to her and said with a smile, Sunrise tastes better without curses, don't you think? Eliza laughed softly. I still can't believe it's gone. Danny looked out the window. The house was different this morning. I walked past it. It didn't feel angry anymore, just empty. Eliza nodded. That's how it should be. They sat down on the small couch. For a while, neither of them spoke. The silence between them wasn't heavy now. It was peaceful. Danny finally asked, Do you remember everything? About what happened down there? Yes, Eliza said. I remember the shadow. I remember the pain. But more than that, I remember you standing in front of it. You were willing to give your life for me. Danny looked at her. Because I care about you, and I still do. Eliza reached for his hand. I never thought anyone could help me. I never thought anyone would stay. Danny squeezed her hand. I'm not going anywhere. They sat there watching the sun rise higher. The light filled the room. It touched every corner, chasing away every shadow that once lived there. Later that day, they returned to the old house. Not to fight, not to run, but to say goodbye. The basement was still. The books had fallen. The candles had melted. The symbols on the walls had faded. It looked like a place that had let go of its darkness. Danny picked up the old book Eliza once used. What will you do with this? Eliza took it from him. Burn it. No one should ever open it again. They walked outside. Behind the house, they built a small fire. Eliza stood in front of the flames and slowly dropped the book into it. The pages curled and blackened. The strange words turned to ash. As the fire burned, Eliza whispered, "Goodbye." They stayed until the last flame died. That evening, they visited the town square. People were smiling, laughing, and living without fear. Eliza looked around, surprised. It feels lighter here. Danny nodded. Maybe the curse wasn't just inside the house. Maybe it touched the whole town. Eliza turned to him. So what now? Danny smiled. Now we live, she laughed. That sounds simple. It is, he said, because we've already faced the hardest part. Weeks passed, then months. Seasons changed. Eliza began painting again, something she hadn't done in years. Her work was bright, full of color and life. People in town started noticing. They came to buy her paintings, to ask about her story. She never told them everything, but she always said the same words. Even in the darkest places, love can bring the light back. Danny stayed in town. He opened a small bookshop. He filled it with stories of hope, mystery, and healing. He placed a photo of Eliza's painting at the front door. It showed a woman standing in front of a shadow, but the shadow was fading, and the light behind her was strong. One evening, as the sun set, Danny and Eliza sat by the lake. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Do you ever think about that night? Sometimes, Danny said, but I don't feel afraid anymore. Me neither, she said. The wind moved gently over the water. The stars came out one by one. Eliza whispered, "You gave me a choice," that night. To face the truth, or keep running. I'm glad I stayed. Danny smiled. So am I. And as the night grew quiet and the world turned soft and calm, two hearts that once stood in fear now rested in peace. Because the past had ended, and a new dawn had begun. One quiet morning, months after the shadow was gone, Eliza was cleaning the attic of her home. The sunlight shone through a small, dusty window. Old boxes were stacked in the corners. Cobwebs hung like forgotten memories. As she opened a box labeled 1999, something slipped out and landed at her feet. A letter, yellow with age, still, sealed. She picked it up and stared. Her name was written on it. To Eliza. Only open when you're free. It was her handwriting. She sat on the floor, hands shaking, and slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a single page. The words were faded, but they were hers, written during the time the shadow had full control of her life. Dear me, if you're reading this, it means the curse is over. Somehow you made it. I'm writing this because I don't believe I'll survive long enough to say it in person. Every day, the darkness takes more of me. Every night, I wonder if I'll be next. I know I've pushed people away. I had to. Every time someone cared, the shadow came for them. I lost so many, and it broke something in me. But if this letter finds you, it means someone stayed. It means someone saw you, even in your pain, and didn't run. And that means love won. Please thank him, whoever he is. Thank him for being brave enough to love a cursed woman. Thank him for saving the girl who thought she couldn't be saved. Now that you're free, don't waste it. Paint, laugh, dance in the rain, hold his hand. Tell the truth. Be soft again. You earned this life. With hope, Eliza folded the letter, tears rolling down her cheeks. Danny climbed the attic stairs, calling, "Eliza, are you okay?" She looked up and smiled through her tears. "I found something. From the past." He sat beside her. She gave him the letter. He read it slowly. When he was done, he looked at her and said, "You did it. You kept going, even when it hurt." Eliza leaned into him. "I had help." He wrapped his arms around her, and for a long time they sat in silence. The past was still there, but it no longer had power. Later that day, they framed the letter and hung it above her art table, not as a reminder of pain, but as proof of survival and love. Because even after all the fear, all the darkness, and all the loss, Eliza had chosen to live.